Good evening and welcome to the FTR 2/3 podcast. I am here with a kitchen pot, and today is a very exciting episode as unbeknownst to our co-host JackOW, the company have sent through some files for a self-evaluation form, and instead of him receiving his self-evaluation form, it arrived in my post. So I thought, he's got a lot on his plate. He's normally editing these podcasts to kind of demonstrate what could be going out there. So I thought, wouldn't it be great if we did his self-evaluation for him?
Oh, brilliant.
Brilliant.
I had no idea what we were going to be doing.
I thought I'd really
it's what you've chosen to do.
Yeah, so really gonna try and sell him. Maybe get him a promotion. Maybe he can drag us up the route, because I didn't get a self-evaluation form for myself, nor have I got one for you. Maybe that's something that'll happen in the future. Who knows? But
Who knows?
basically, if this does get released, we thought maybe we could trial this as a concept for the podcast, and if it works, it works. If not. But really, we're going to be telling you everything you need to know about JackOW, all the wonderful things he's done, and also maybe we don't want to make it a completely because it'll be unbelievable if it's all positive. So we do have to add in some negatives somewhere. Don't have a Google Sheet to write on this time. This is all coming directly from our mouth holes, which I think is, the best place for words to come from is a mouth hole rather than nostrils or ears. So anyway, when I got the letter, it read, write a self-evaluation form. Didn't specify anything else. So it doesn't say how
like
to
one
be
of those
written down.
essay titles.
It's
very open-ended.
Exactly, very open-ended. I think, so we really want to demonstrate him in the best possible light. Now, one thing that has been on the podcast ideas list for a while is that he's going to be learning to do a kickflip in the future at some point. So I think really that's something we want to get in, is that he's willing to try new things. Very proud of showing off his family. Can't wait to get his dad on. He's really been going on about that quite a bit. And
there's a lot.
Main thing, there's a lot of stuff. He's a very adventurous lad, and I think
he's got a lot of goals.
A lot of goals
he's set himself.
Yeah, I mean, currently have been set for him his own goals. He's currently been he's just come back from a placement in kind of the Siberian wastes. He went to a village to you know how you get those Christian retreats? Well, he's doing that, but he's blacksmithing for the entire village medieval weaponry to defeat the incoming hordes that tend to arrive each winter. And that's something that he's been doing between episodes. It's something that he's kind of tried to keep hush-hush, but I think really delve into that bit now. It's that, he's a very charitable soul. There's a lot of Christian... a lot of Christian outreach for medieval weaponry.
Right. So I didn't know that about the man.
Yeah, well, you know how he keeps going on about... Yeah, people keep saying, when will World War III happen? He's been going about, when's the next crusade? When can he reclaim Jerusalem? And we have to remind him, the geopolitical complications of such an endeavour are things that certainly shouldn't be repeated in the 21st century, but he's pretty adamant on the whole thing.
Way beyond our remit of influence, I would say.
But I don't know. We don't know who owns this company. Maybe it's the Mormon Church. Maybe they'd really appreciate some crusading. So
Maybe.
it's a long shot.
That's what we got to do. We just got to get everything down, cover all bases.
Yeah.
Let's really sell the Navy to the higher
potential employers, and the company itself. But yeah, those are just kind of those are the core tenets I think of when I think of JackOW, and you see you see the more sensitive side of him, the more he comes to me and we talk about kind of ideas and kind of his escapades, but he's a lot more modest with other people. So I'd love to see what your interpretation of JackOW is on just kind of a base level.
JackOW is a hardworking man who who really what do you want from me here?
I don't want anything from you. I just want when you see JackOW and you think of like the main things that you would class to identify him. If you were to sell him, what would first section, main bullet points, what would those top 3 bullet points be on yours?
The top 3 bullet points to describe JackOW and his work ethic and everything would be, like I say, hardworking.
Yeah.
He's always looking for areas to improve, and he's always working on himself.
True.
And come on, Matthew, think of a punchline. My brain's not in it today. I'm really not in it. He is a proper good boy.
Yeah, I'd say he is.
That's what we're going with.
He's a Sasquatch of a man, I would say. That's where I thought it was going. But Sasquatch, a good boy.
You know what, Chris? You have taken the words right out of my mouth. I can't believe you're so in sync with me. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. I could see, I was looking into your eyes and I could see he's forgotten the word Sasquatch from his lexicon. Needs someone to remind him. Because I remember the first time I met JackOW. It was a really interesting first meeting. So it was all the way back in my it was during one of my first trips to America, and around about 1847 I met with some Indian tribes in America, Native Americans, and they were talking about the Skookums, a race of cannibalistic wild men that live at Mount St. Helens. And however, it was only around about in the 1930s when we got a good description, and then later some photos came out and we went there, and before I signed on the contract, they were like, do you know anyone who'd be really good for it? And I was like, I know a guy. He lives in the redwoods over in America. I left a note in one of the trees, and here he is now.
So you actually helped him to get this job then?
Yeah, I did. That's why I think I don't know whether he's not very good at writing. He's as you would think from somebody who's lived in a forest, only good with technology. Not he has a hatred for old-fangled tech outside of blacksmithing, because blacksmithing is how you make circuitry and computers and all sorts and metal devices. And I can tell that you're so surprised from what I'm saying, Matthew, that you've completely frozen on me. But I can continue talking to you in such a way. Um, yeah, it's mainly that when it came to handwriting or technology that wasn't warlike, developed before the 1930s, he actually really struggles with it. So us being here today to write about JackOW's accounts and to audibly dictate them, I think that's something that really is outside of his wheelhouse, but very solidly in. I know you're frozen. You're absolutely frozen in disbelief in what I'm saying because I know that you don't know him in the same way I do. You went out there in the redwoods. You haven't seen him struggle to decipher the texts. Oh, there we go.
Sorry.
Sorry, I just saw you got so shocked that you just went completely still from what I was saying.
You did the same thing on my end, so
Wow.
I tried to. I wasn't sure who it was who had died there.
I just kept
so
you
I feel
going.
like I took a moment and then I also tried to fill in the time. So
well, let's reel it back.
It's really a bit. Okay.
Reel it back. Okay, so this will have to be popped in when appropriate. But yeah. As we all know, JackOW really struggles with outside of medieval weaponry, ancient technologies such as writing. I remember the first time he read the note, he asked me what it was all about. What's this thing? I said it was the alphabet. He was like, never heard of it. Don't think it's really something that I've seen used much on the internet. And I was like, don't worry, I'll explain it to you. And he was like, it's like these little symbols on my wooden keyboard. And I was like, yeah, it's the same thing. And he was like, get it. But he struggles with understanding kind of. Yeah.
This man is both single-handedly, he knows what a computer is, and he understands the internet. He doesn't know.
He's a computer whiz. Computer whiz.
I mean, just the sheer prodigy
I would say there are
of
three
that description of him is enough to sell anybody who thinks like me. So
yeah,
I'd hire him.
Yeah, he loves the outdoors. He loves computers. He loves developing medieval technologies to go on crusades. Those are his three areas of expertise. If I know that man as well as I think I do. Now, one thing that I think really helps in a personal statement or a self-review, and this is something that you at home can utilize, is that if you can find a way to connect with the person who's reading it, then not only can you get a job, you can gain a friend. And therefore, I think maybe putting in some of his interests, like some of the things he's a big fan of.
His outside interests.
His outside interests, movie franchises he might like, what kind of game does he like to hunt in the countryside? Those kinds of things. Things that every man has, Things that you can really make a connection over. So we'll start with media, He's a neoloom, so I don't think we need to go into any of that direction because we already know that he's into it. We can just write neoloom on the page and he'll be golden.
Yes.
Not all neolooms.
I do know he's a massive. I've heard him say many times in the past that his favorite film franchise is the Star Wars film franchise. So
I have heard him. It's because of all of the computers in them. He's like,
yeah,
I understand this. None of this writing.
He did once describe them to me as the single greatest piece of media he'd ever borne witness to.
Yeah.
So,
and you want to know
he's
something?
Pretty passionate about them.
I do like some of the Star Wars movies, but I don't like others. Has he got a favourite trilogy or a favourite?
I I'm pretty sure he did say that the sequel trilogy were the 3 greatest films of all time. Number one being The Last Jedi. I'm pretty sure those words came out of his mouth.
That's a controversial take, but if I know JackOW, he is the king of controversy, so I don't doubt it for a second. You know, I think, you know, there are many elements about Star Wars I think he probably enjoys. You know, all of the Christian imagery within the franchise, good versus evil. I think something that he'd really identify with. And it would explain why whenever we've talked to him outside of doing the podcasts, he's always been wearing that Mandalorian suit of armor that he's brought.
Yeah.
Real big fan of the show.
It does make it a little bit difficult to actually hold a conversation with him when he's just stood there in just like pure Mandalorian armor. Yeah. You can't see his lips moving.
Yeah. But though I do think it's a lot better than the Halloween Baby Yoda outfit.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that was a hit. Yeah, it was so bad that we had to cut the Halloween episode of FDR1. It was so distracting. Just couldn't handle it. Next year we'll try and get him to where's something. And you want to know, like, you know, when I think of media franchises that JackOW is really into, he is actually a massive fan of The Walking Dead.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he loves The Walking Dead. Like, I think it's something about the destruction of other religious bodies though it might affect the Christian body, you know, the fact that other religions pretty much collapse in that post-apocalyptic world really is something that he strongly identifies with, which, you know, again, a controversial man this JackOW is, and we're not saying we agree with these views that he holds, certainly not, but it would be disingenuous.
We're just completing an honest self-evaluation form.
Honest self-evaluation.
We're covering everything. Yeah.
Covering
You've got to be honest on these things, otherwise, you may as well just put down that you're this isn't mix between George Clooney and who's a lovely charity man,
Muhammad Ali.
Who gives all that money? Muhammad Ali.
Yeah. if I thought
of human existence, Brad Pitt and Muhammad Ali.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I can't think of two people with more similarities to JackOW than those two men.
Yes.
Yeah, and a little bit of, I'd say you could sprinkle in a little bit of Dame Judi Dench in there as well.
I think that's fair.
Especially when he's grumpy.
A bit of Dame Judi.
Yeah, he does have a little bit of that Judi Dench sass, something that I'm sure viewers at home have connected from the episodes. But in terms of, like, you know, I know he himself, whenever we've met up in person, which hasn't been many times, you know, considering lockdown and such, we've not known him for that long, only since the 1800s. But he's really into his postmodern art, really into minimalist, just square. I don't understand it personally myself, but, like, you know, one of his favourite pieces is Who's Afraid of Red, Blue and Yellow, a piece famously known for being destroyed by the Nazis during World War II. And surprising, because it's a Jewish piece of art, but I think it goes to show that, as he put it, he looks at the art beyond the artist, though I would say that the artists themselves was a very brave individual for making that piece of work. But then again, you know, I'm not putting words into his mouth. These are just things that he has said in the past.
He's expressed to us in the past, sure.
Yeah, you know.
I can see that again.
You know, he doesn't have anything against the guy. It's just, you know, very Christian lad. But yeah, you know, he's really into his art, especially his you know, kind of abstract, kind of, you know, real into sculpture work. I think he has a little bit of it. He has a beautiful piece of abstract arts that he's shown us just outside his house.
Oh yeah, that man.
That man.
Who was that man?
Who was that? Whose
Where did
man
he find that man?
Was that? I don't know. Some say, like Iron Man, he went to his garage and he made that man. He made that man, and now he patrols the moors behind his house. Killing any geese that dare trespass on his land.
Yeah.
Because as we all know, geese, very big proponents of, mainly Buddhist due to reincarnation. You know, if you're Buddhist and you scored a 6 out of 10 on your life evaluation form when you die, 90% of the time you end up as a goose. 10% of the time, if you do pay off the judge of character, you can get a swan. In a good case scenario. Which I think
3 out of 10 though.
You don't want to get a 3 out of 10.
No.
I don't even want to go into what you'd be if you got a 3 out of 10.
Like some people think 1 out of 10 is the worst. Trust me, it's 3 out of 10. It's like it's a massive dip there before it gets.
You couldn't even commit to being the worst possible version of yourself. You couldn't get there. And you couldn't get close at a 2 out of 10 either. It's just a 3 out of 10. It's very weird because enough about reincarnation. You know, we shouldn't talk about it. It's not something that JackOW believes in.
It's not something that would go on JackOW's self-evaluation form.
Yeah.
Ergo. We're not going to talk about it for any more than we have to.
Now, something I know that JackOW despises, because again, as long as the media stuff he enjoys, stuff he despises, he just absolutely hates politics. Some would call him an anarchist. Wants to burn down all the institutions. So much so that he banned talking about it on the podcast, mainly because whenever he sees red and he just thinks, I've got to consume the politicians that destroyed my national parks in America, and we have to calm him. You know, when he goes into his hour-long Christian rants on the podcast, so we have to cut out for time. Yeah, you know. But it's something that, you know, I think would be very wise to mention on there. And I think it's a reason why I think it's good for us to be doing this without him, because I think as soon as we mention that, off he'd go. Just...
Yeah, I will say that one potential critique of JackOW is that he can be a bit too passionate sometimes. You know, he can really go quite off on one when if you really get him going on the wrong topics. You see a different side to him. Okay, this is the dark side of JackOW.
The dark side of JackOW, though some say that passion does bleed into other elements of his life, so it's kind of a flaw and a boon.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. It's also, some could argue, it is his greatest strength and his
greatest weakness. I remember when I showed him Marley and Me. He didn't emotionally recover from that one for a good month. Whenever he saw Golden Retriever, breakdown. Just, you know, a real man of passion. I know he seems restrained on the podcast, but he is someone very much in tune with his emotions, and very willing to express them to the world. You know, one of the reasons he applied for the job, the podcast, was to kind of, you know, really allow himself to become, to really be dissected by other people. I know he knows that in person he might not react the best way due to his passion. It is one way that he feels a lot of his self-improvement can come from. I think it's real admirable. Yeah. Anyway, talking about flaws, we should talk about some of the no-goes with JackOW. You know, he's as great a man as he is. and we've talked a little bit about it, his obsession with the Crusades, and Christianity, to some would say an obsessive degree, and his passion that can sometimes be led astray. I think we should put on a couple more flaws just to really nail it in now.
Just give a well-rounded picture of the man,
Yeah.
It's got to be.
Now, I think one thing for sure comes to mind is that, we all know JackOw's favourite food is toast. Made it very clear on the toast versus cereal. The thing is, it's very difficult to have a meal with JackOw because he automatically assumes, oh, we're having some snacks? Let me just put on the toaster. Oh, we're having dinner? Let's get some toast on that. He refuses to try anything outside of toast. And it is a bit infuriating. In business, you have to be able to go out for meals with potential employees and really build rapport.
Do you think this tie? Because I do know he's also a big fan of his red wine.
Yeah.
Does this all tie back into the Christianity, the body and blood of Christ?
I think I actually.
Do you think that's what it is?
Mm-hmm. I think the worst bit is when he gets that toast and he gets the glass and he dips it in there.
Oh, yeah.
If you watch the podcast, you might see him do it a couple of times where he says it allows him. He tends
to try and cut them out because he's a little bit self-conscious about it because he knows it's not normal.
Yeah, he knows. Yeah, but he does. But just like how he photoshops on the crusts onto his toast when he's doing the podcast. He hates crust.
That's where most of his editing skills get put to use, is tracking the bread as it moves around the shop.
It's to such an extent that when he gets the end of the loaf, he'll leave a little bit of it, and because he doesn't want to waste any of the bread, he'll get a spoon. He'll just go to town on that.
Oh.
Just really get all of the juicy, crummy inside out whilst leaving the crusts well alone.
I think we can put that down to interesting eating habits.
Interesting eating habits.
That's one of his flaws.
One of his flaws.
You got any others?
I do have a couple of. I do have one more, but I think we should take it in turns.
No, Chris, you can go.
Well, if you insist, if you want some more time to think about it, because you had one that you said earlier, and I don't want to steal your thunder. We will do.
I did. I don't remember what I said.
Now, one thing that I do know about JackOw is that he is cold-blooded. Means he doesn't do well in extremely cold or extremely hot environments. The doctors say it's looking at his blood. He needs to go to the vets really because it's more like a lizard than a human being. Which maybe that's something to do with Sasquatches. I don't know, but it is something that you could say passion is his emotional weakness. You could say temperature is his physical one. Remember when you took him skiing?
Oh god, yeah, that was a nightmare.
That was a nightmare.
It's just scream at the top of his lungs, going, "I'm so cold."
It was from when he went off the plane till when he went on, and it was only when he was next to a fireplace or under 12 layers of clothing was he fine.
Yeah, we had to leave it frosting for half the week just because it took that long just to get his body temperature back to normal.
Yeah, and I think it's why he really likes blacksmithing in cold Siberian wastelands in villages to make medieval tools, just because the heat of the forge combined with the coldness of the environment actually reaches a Goldilocks zone for him.
Yeah, if he gets too hot, he takes a step outside, and then when he needs to warm back up again, back in he goes.
Back in he goes. It's perfect. I think temperature control and his cold blood definitely is his most defining physical trait outside of the copious amounts of hair he shaves every day. It's weird because with the beard you wouldn't expect that all to grow in the morning.
Yeah, do provide any accommodation for him with at least 5 hoovers. They're going to be needed to suck up all that shaven hair.
Yeah.
Now, you did mention earlier about how this was something I didn't know ahead of this, but how you basically taught him the alphabet or explained to him what the alphabet was.
Yeah.
Which does go some way to explaining his, word choices sometimes not good are. You know what I mean? Like his lexicon is.
As I said to him, just edit me saying the words and like tone shift them a bit so it sounds like me, and then people will think I'm the one getting the words wrong all the time, where actually I can just cover for
you. Sneaky tricks.
Yeah, but it is something that for an in-person kind of personal statement, when they're going to be meeting him in real life, I think that is an expectation we need to kind of establish for himself. Yeah, I think that's kind of the broad kind of overview, but I think we can kind of dig into a couple of little facts about him, a couple of neat things that aren't so overwhelming in his personality, but kind of build the character of JackOW. Now, one thing that he doesn't like to say too much, but he has occasionally let it slip, and you might have noticed, but his persona is Winston from Overwatch.
Oh yes, that does ring a bell.
Yeah, he's very much, being a Sasquatch. You could say that it's not even a persona, but kind of, it reminds him of his lost families who have been killed by the excessive poaching of the Sasquatch kind by the Americans. But it's something that it's a hint of vulnerability and sadness that I think you do get in him, but it is something that I don't think he views as a personal weakness, and I think that is a nice little tidbit. Maybe not go into such depths with it as I'm saying here, but I think just saying that he's a real big fan of Winston from Overwatch. It's the whole reason he plays the game.
Yeah, he is Monkey Boy. He likes the Monkey Boy. Let's not think about that too much more, because if you think about what I just said, it's a little bit. Let's move on swiftly.
Yeah, I think it's a fact that he is. When it comes to monkeys, he just he has an affinity for them, like his spirit animal. Which I think is where you were going there, and you just couldn't find the right words.
Yeah, I got caught up in what I'd actually said rather than what I meant to say.
Yeah, you thought about what you could have said, which would have been highly inappropriate. And not what you were going to say.
What I was sort of saying could be taken out of context. To be rather inappropriate. But no, you once again have read my mind and have saved my ass. So
it's always good to have a bit of restraint.
What else is? What other little tidbits are there? Yeah, like you say, he is a very restrained person. He knows when. Well, apart from when it comes to Christianity, he does know when to hold in his passion and like vigor for any topic. But
and even
when he does, he can unleash it with its full force very effectively.
Yeah, I don't think it's really that he has any issue with any other religions. I think it is just that he thinks Christianity is so great that he doesn't understand what the deal is with the other religions.
No.
And really, and I think one thing that you miss when you see his perspective on the podcast, but on the other side of his wall, you do have his collection of Beyblades, which I think is a little trait, a little fun fact about him. He's really into Beyblade. You know, I'm kind of the Pokemon expert. We have Yu-Gi-Oh boy over this way, but I think we all know JackOw's true passion is in the Beyblade. Though he did have that stint in the 1960s with Bakugan. Mainly, as far as I've known him, he's been a Beyblade boy.
For sure. Yeah, there's something about the sound that you get from ripping a Beyblade and letting it rip that just connects with him on some sort of spiritual level, I guess. He's told me in the past.
I think it is just, when he gets hungry, when he's hungry for his bread, sometimes his stomach rumbles, and I swear it's indistinguishable from the Beyblade sound. It's incredible. I think it really is. I think that really is one core tenet about JackOw. And I think the one thing that I will stay on is that he smells like lavender, which odd, peculiar. Don't know why.
Not a bad smell to smell of, though.
I've never seen him shower, but always smells of lavender, and it's why I'd always say keep your distance a little bit, because when you get close, it's kind of like when it gets a bit overwhelming. The smell of lavender can get like that if you really bustle your nose into his hair. Just a real thick lavender scent. Maybe that's something to do with him being a Sasquatch, or maybe it's his conditioner. Who knows? But it's something that I think is a defining trait. I think it is, you smell him before you see him, kind of deal.
Yeah.
You go, has somebody lit some lavender candles, or is JackOw in the building?
It does make him somewhat not so sneaky. You know he's creeping up, and when he's trying to creep up on you.
It does make him
hit by that wave of lavender first.
Yeah, it does make him a lady killer in some perspectives. Because, a girl looks at that and thinks, I'll never have to buy a candle in my life.
Yeah.
My house
Look at all the money I can save.
Yeah.
And my house smells of lavender.
Yeah, you know how you attract ladies with fiscally sound propositions for them, and JackOw is definitely, with how economical and commercial he is with his money, how he's able to really define the deals, with that element of himself. I've seen him shop before, and girls have come over to him and be like, wow, where did you get the deal for those t-shirts? And other such things. It's incredible to watch.
If there were 3 words I'd use to describe Jamie, it's a walking fiscal proposition.
He'd be attracting all those financially responsible ladies.
Yeah.
Then I think also one thing to note is that his shadow is a cat, which does confuse some people. A lot of people on the podcast might get confused that he's called his cat Shadow. No, that's his shadow.
Yeah. So, like I said, he's a literal man, and he can disconnect his shadow. Which is a fun party trick.
Just like Peter Pan. Except 3D.
Have we got much more to say about JB?
I don't think so. I think the great thing about this exercise is that you don't want it to be too long.
No.
I think having it be short and sweet. So if you're an employer out there and you're looking for a religious fanatic, lavender scented, hairy, good-natured blacksmith willing to crusade with his collection of Yu-Gi-Oh and his love of Star Wars, specifically the sequel trilogy. Let's just say we might have your man.
Yeah.
So thank you for watching FTR 2/3. So first off, JackOW, would you like to advertise your things? Yeah. And for me, I have Twitch, Astral Fisher, be there or be not there. You know, that's how it works. And finally, Pots. Got Pots and Pans.
Pots and Pans on the SoundCloud. Go listen to things. They're fun, I guess. I haven't been doing a lot lately because I've been really caught up with the most recent project that I've been doing.
Yeah, and I just recorded all of the bits for that yesterday, so.
Yeah, hopefully by soonish should be able to start going back to busting out some more.
You can pencil that into your diaries. Go to soonish, pencil it in. It's happening. No worries. I even saw.
Find the page marked soonish.
Yeah,
right in capital letters.
Yeah, I saw they started talking about Jingle Cats on the subreddit, so you know.
Yeah.
So that'll be good. I'm looking forward to that, which does date this episode, meaning this has to come out before Jingle Cats, but you know, whatever.
Can always get cut.
Can always get cut. Don't worry.
Anyway.
But yeah.
Any final words of wisdom to finish this short little thing off with?
Man. I've been using this recently. I got it from a sponsor. It says it's in French, water of toilet, but it smells nothing like it. It smells very good. I don't know. Maybe they should learn how to spell aftershave in English instead of using something in French. And on that note, have a great day.